Jessica, I've got to talk to you.
Okay.
I think I'm in love.
What?
I think I know my kind, and I think I've fallen in love. Isn't it wonderful?
What? What are you talking about?
You're not being very supportive. I expected someone named Jessica to be far more supportive of me having fallen in love.
How can I be supportive of this? We're married.
There you go again. Not supporting me. I've fallen in love, and you're just not. Ugh. What kind of sister are you?
Maybe she's just the one you need. Because I know that I've never seen your motives more squeaky clean. My 17 magazine tells me that you're in love.
Oh, I'm so done doing the sketches. I'm so done doing the comedy thing. I'm just like, I don't want to do it no more. You totally warned me on. I was the one who was all excited to do them. It's like, oh, this sets us apart from other similar podcasts.
It's great. I love the sketches.
No, you don't.
Yes, I do. Sure I do.
You've said you hate them, and we do them, and then, like, right then in the episode, you're like, that was the worst one ever. And I'm like, maybe she's right. Well, 2020 is almost here, so maybe we'll just stop doing it. We need some other form of opening the show.
Man, I started thinking about it, and I was like, maybe we should start bringing guests on. I saw the tweets from Danosaurus, and I was like, man, we need to get some opinions from people who know the technical aspects of music.
Because did you have all those notes that he left?
I do not, but I was like, I didn't even notice that the songs were in a different key in the covers. I'm just like, yeah, they sound different because they're not Relient K.
Right, for I Celebrate the Day, Danosaurus left us a whole bunch of very complex tweets about the tuning of all the different versions that we played. And I was like, yep, this is something we definitely can't talk about. Let's see. So Danosaurus says, almost every version of I Celebrate you played on the show is in a slightly different tuning or key. Original is D, Canton Show is played in E, Winter Wonder Slam is played in E sharp, D minor, and I think I got sharp and minor right. Which one's the B and which one's the hashtag? Let's pretend.
I don't know.
Let's pretend I got it right.
The B sharps, like you know, the Homer Simpson barbershop quartet.
I wish there was some sort of network of information where I could look up what's the sharp symbol and what's the other one. Anyway, yeah. And
apologies for the energy tonight.
Yes, Jessica's sick tonight, so I'm just kind of okay. Oh, you know what's funny though? So if anyone's noticed on Twitter, we were supposed to record on Sunday. We sent the call out because we're doing 17 Magazine this week. I don't even think we said yet. We're doing 17 Magazine this week. And I tweeted last week, hey, if you got covers, because there aren't a lot of covers, if you have thoughts about the song, send them our way. And we're recording on Sunday. Well, now it's Tuesday, and we're finally recording because Jessica got the flu or something.
But now we're recording 17 Magazine on the 17th.
Yes, we're recording on the 17th. So if we somehow magically get this edited and up the same night, which I doubt, then this is our quickest turnaround. But I think after we're done recording, I'm going to bed.
Same.
And then you're definitely going to bed. But yes, we're talking about 17 Magazine this week, and we do have voicemails going back to 2 weeks ago, and then we have, I think, one newer voicemail, but let's take a look. So last week we skipped voicemails, but we have this voicemail from Tim in Portland. And this voicemail actually goes back to December 3rd. We actually had this one for a while, so sorry, Tim, we're just getting to it now. But here's this voicemail.
Hey, guys. This is Timothy Sullivan from Portland, Oregon. Longtime Relient K fan. I was like 6 in the year 2000 when my sister had a burned copy of Relient K from a friend at church. So that's the extent of my history. with Relient K, and I've been a fan ever since. So I'm listening to the Don't Blink podcast, and the video with the two kids is one that I took of my son Lucas and my daughter Amelia. So pretty excited that you guys found that video that I put together. Digging what you guys are doing so far. I mean, I would have called earlier. I've been listening to your podcast for about a month and a half since my brother sent it to me. But I pretty much want to call you guys every 5 minutes of your podcast. So, and I still have like 2 or 3 months worth of podcasts to catch up on. So, keep it up. Thanks, guys.
We have never heard from somebody who, like, we've gone over one of their videos.
Yeah, so that was a first.
Yeah.
And there were like, do you remember there was a really amazing cover, my favorite cover for Getting Not Slow Down? It was by a YouTuber called Catastrophe Eyes.
Yes.
She took the video down.
Oh, no.
Because I was going to repost it again, and, like, it was gone. And I'm like, what happened? What happened?
Oh, no.
And then I looked, and apparently she, like, set all her videos to private except for one, like, My Chemical Romance cover.
That happens sometimes.
But part of me was wondering, because I had this, like, what now I feel like is a stupid idea. But I thought about this, and it couldn't be for this reason. Sorry, Tim, we'll get back to your voicemail in a second. I left comments on everyone from Forget and Not Slow Down podcast. Like, hey, we talked about your song on the podcast. We really love it. Right? And I didn't get any replies from anybody, especially because some of the videos are like 10 years old.
Yeah,
or whatever,
yeah.
You know, so I'm not really expecting people to log in and see those. But just in case, maybe other people will find those comments on those videos and be like, oh, what's Sadie Hawkins pod? And then I'm like, did Catastrophe Eyes basically delete her page because she didn't want the attention of a Relient K podcast? And I'm like, maybe, but no.
I don't think so.
I don't think so. I felt really bad, but luckily...
Not if, like, all the videos were down or whatever, except for one.
Right. But luckily I did rip that. Sorry, I closed my phone while we're talking, but I did, because I downloaded... I saved most of the tracks that I download when we edit the podcast. So I don't have the video, but I have the audio from that song.
Oh, but speaking of burning things onto blank CDs,
Oh, yeah.
Danny discovered one of my best of Relient K mixes from, what was it, 2009 or something?
2009, yeah. I was going through a giant CD wallet of all our like DVRs and DVDRs and CDRs for something else that we're doing next week on the final pod of Christmas, the final of the 4 pods of Christmas. And while I was looking through that, I found that CDR, and we'll have to do a special episode on it. Jessica thought the best Relient K songs were in 2009.
That's not just top of the show business.
No, I didn't keep it out. I felt like we need a clear field to talk about that.
I'm pretty sure there's one of those from like 2004 as well.
I didn't find that though.
I don't know where it is, but I'm pretty sure I did. I'll have to look for that one.
But anyway, thank you very much, Tim, for contacting us, and I'm really glad that, that's exciting. I mean, I'd be excited if someone found my video on some random crappy podcast about a band that I like. So that's really cool. And then I was just going to mention, but I guess I won't play the voicemail because I just think it's funny, and you know what I'm going to talk about.
I do know what you're going to talk about.
So Tim left like 3 other voicemails. And they're all, just like, he's just like filling in the blanks of information. Like at one point he mentioned the Concord B opening to Forget Not Slow Down. He's like, it's on my physical CD. And so I'm like, okay, it's not on. We bought 2 copies. We bought the Japanese copy and just a regular copy that we found in a store. And it doesn't have the Next Day Stop Concord B.
Well, now we need to do more like sleuthing.
I know.
Into why that is.
Find out what pressing has that opening. Oh, and then on December 6th, he left a voicemail where he was listening to What Have You Been Doing Lately? And he's like, I'll just paraphrase here. He's like, I'm listening to the What Have You Been Doing Lately podcast, and you guys are starting to side with, seems like you guys are siding with Justin and Vanessa, and it seems like you guys are sinners, and I can't listen to a podcast that's hosted by sinners. Well, Justin, Tim played it so down the line that I was like, was that a joke? I couldn't tell. And I should play the audio, but I'm thinking like maybe we do it as like a Patreon, because we're hoping by January 1st to have our Patreon finally going. So yeah, just take my word for it. His voicemail was like so down the line. I was like, I think he's joking. I can't tell. Is he joking? I was like, is he actually upset? Because here's the thing, you and me, and this isn't, I actually see this in most of the people on our, not everyone, but a lot of the people that I see online around Relient K and MXPX, we were raised in conservative Christian backgrounds. Your parents are actually a little bit more socially liberal than my parents were growing up. But you and I are way more socially liberal now than our parents know, right? And because Relient K is a Christian band, we're like, well, I know who are fans that interact with us, our listeners. I don't want to call them fans. Our listeners who interact with us pretty regularly, I seem to have a good sense of like what their sense of humor is and who they are as people. But when it comes to like the larger Relient K fan base, I'm like, I don't know what that person is in general, So because I see all kinds of different types of people politically and socially when I like look at Instagram on Relient K stuff. So I'm like, I think it's a lot of different people. So we were sort of both like cautious for a while, like, are we going to get people who are kind of upset maybe at our God episode or stuff like that?
Right.
I was like, so I was kind of guarded and ready for that sort of thing. And then when Tim made this joke and he was just so deadpan joking, he was joking, but it's just so deadpan down the middle. I was like, I can't tell. So eventually I like DM'd him and I'm like, hey, I heard your voice. So I wanted to play it cool and be like, just in case, like, just respectful if he was serious, which I hoped he wasn't and didn't think he was, but then like cool and aloof if he was joking. And he's like, oh no, I was totally kidding. And I was like, oh, thank God. Thank goodness. And then I talked to him a bunch, and it reminded me, because I totally get what sort of happened. He's like, no, I'm really sarcastic. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to, he's like, whatever. Didn't mean to make you think it might have been real. And I was like, it reminds me of something that happened recently with me.
Uh-huh.
Is after the MXPX show in Anaheim a couple weeks ago.
Oh, yeah.
I had this great idea. I had this fantastic, funny idea.
Oh, Danny.
I still think it's funny, where I went on the MXPX Facebook group, and I was like, hey everyone, something really crazy happened at the Anaheim show last night. They forgot to play Punk Rock Show, and they left the stage, and everyone got really mad and started yelling out their names in anger, and they came back out, and they must have been embarrassed because they played a couple other songs first and acted like they meant to play Punk Rock Show the whole time. I'm jokingly like, I don't know what an encore is. Everybody on the MXPX message board lost their minds because they all thought I was serious.
Oh, Danny.
Except for the people who are my friends on there. Like Andrew from Magnified Pod and Alex Retro and Mike Herrera got it. Like he got it. He knew it was a joke. He liked it. And then it took it one step further where I posted it to my MXPX memes account, pretending that I didn't know who that guy was, me, saying there's some crazy person here spreading lies about MXPX, and more people on there didn't know I was joking or that I was talking about myself. So Tim, totally get it, totally understand the sarcastic sense of humor. That's what I've been doing lately. So we're talking about what have you been doing lately from Anatomy of Tongue-in-Cheek. No, we're talking about 17 magazine. How is it you're the one who has the flu and I'm the one who's acting like I'm in a fever dream?
I don't know. So if you're not familiar, 17 Magazine is an American publication targeted to teens, particularly 13 to 19-year-old females. It began as a publication...
Shouldn't it only be aimed at 17-year-olds?
Right? Geared towards... They had to pick that they named it after the median, although I guess maybe that would be 15. I don't know.
Right.
Math is not my strong suit. It began as a publication geared towards inspiring girls to become model workers and citizens. Soon after its debut, 17 took a more fashion and romance-oriented approach while promoting self-confidence in young women.
This is almost, this song is kind of tangential to Nancy Drew.
Yeah.
I definitely thought of these songs, this song and Nancy Drew, as being sort of,
Same
similar,
album. So.
same album,
Yeah.
and they're just both kind of like things you generally associate with like teen girl experience.
They're my two favorite
know
songs off
Yes.
that album.
I know I'm giving into gender norms here, but that's the sense. You know what I mean? It's like they're both. He's talking to his sister, and she's reading 17 magazine, and the Nancy Drew book that I told that story about when I saw Relient K in 2000, and Matt Thiessen's introduction to Nancy Drew was like I was walking past the coffee table, and my sister had a book on the table, and it was Nancy Drew, and it was like, hey, who's that on the cover of that book? So wait a second. This is just cracking in my brain right now. 17 magazine is about his sister Jessica's copy of 17 magazine, and Nancy Drew was inspired by the same sister's copy of Nancy Drew.
Do we know it was the same sister?
Does he have more than one sister? I have no idea.
I don't know.
I don't really know a lot about the Thiessen family tree. I know there's a sister named Jessica, and I know there's a dad who sings like this, Sahara. There's a lion. Lion on his side. They could have just had me do
And
it.
an uncle who paints.
And that's right, an uncle who paints. Yeah, that's the only way we know about the Thiessens out there is whether or not they join in on the artistic experience.
So the magazine debuted in September of 1944. I didn't know it went back that far. I didn't know it was that old, so that's pretty cool. Danny's just looking at me.
I'm just so disappointed you didn't know that.
By the way, that whirring, if you can hear it, is Danny's computer. I don't know why, but it sounds like it's like about to blow up.
Well, it's my new computer, and it's very loud.
It's just so loud.
I'll,
And it's right by the microphone.
I was trying to go to my old computer, which is for some reason quieter, but then it was like update in progress. I'm like, I don't need you to update. You're my old computer.
Sylvia Plath evidently submitted nearly 50 pieces to 17 magazine before her short story And Summer Will Not Come Again was published in the August 1950 issue. Isn't that interesting? I was like, oh wow. Sylvia Plath was writing for 17 magazine. That seems so weird.
That is kind of weird. I think like a lot of writers, I think magazines were a legitimate source of literature and stuff. I mean, a little 17 magazine you don't think is a literary magazine.
Yeah. That's all I got on the magazine itself.
Well, thanks for listening, everybody.
I did do a deep dive on this. Not a lot comes up.
On the song. Yeah, there aren't a lot of covers. Yeah. And we did get one cover when we requested.
Right.
But yeah, there isn't a ton of stuff online about this.
I do have a couple things.
Okay.
All right. So, according to KissTheGuy.com, a misheard lyric site apparently, Talk to My Sister Late Last Night has been misheard as Slept with My Sister Late Last Night.
What? Talk to my sister, but no, that's weird.
It is, yep. I'm just telling you what KissTheGuy.com had to say.
Well, a lot of us sleep with our siblings. Like, we sleep next to them. We, like, share bedrooms. That's disturbing.
This song has 164 beats per minute, same as The Reason by Hoobastank, Not Listening by Papa Roach, and Time Bomb by Rancid.
Oh, nice.
So if any of those are on your run mix, consider adding 17 magazine.
So maybe there's a way to turn this into a ska punk jam, since it's the same beats per minute as Time Bomb.
Now, since the deep dive did not, come up with a lot of material for us this week, I do have some stuff that we can get into later after we talk about the song.
Okay. Then let's talk about the song, because I can't wait to find out what those things are. So one thing to talk about is, we haven't really discussed this, but there are these two pre-release versions of the self-titled album that are listed on Discogs. They're both really rare. One of them, RK's Too Sick, on YouTube talked about, and that's where he ended up putting the Ed Sullivan cover on YouTube. And I think that was like the promotional... He doesn't exactly say this, but my assumption when he showed it and talked about it, and he was talking about it kind of off the cuff, but when I looked at it, I'm like, that's probably like the promotional copy that was like sent to, reviewers and radio stations and stuff like that. there's that version. And then there's also a CDR version in 1999. Like, no specific date, but 1999, so a year, at least up to a year before the album came out. The track listing is all out of order. It says it's a CDR, partially mixed promo. It's got K-Car, Hello McFly, Marilyn Manson Ain't My Girlfriend, and then this is where it gets interesting. 17 Magazine alternate version, which unfortunately we can't hear today because nobody has put this version of the album online that I can find. Then there's Wake Up Call, Just Fine, which that's a track I've never heard of, right? Softer to Me alternate version, Charles in Charge, Staple, not Staples, but Staple. And I leaned in closer to the screen cap of the one image of this promotional just to make sure that wasn't a Discogs mistake, but it really does say Staple. Nancy Drew, Balloon Ride, When You're Around, Ed Sullivan, which we talked about, and Heavy Metal. Something called Heavy Metal. Which
I want to hear that.
I know. I'm assuming since it's the last track that maybe it's like just sort of a joke heavy metal thing. That's my assumption. Total assumption. And then in October 19th, 2019, a Discogs user named said should probably be merged with the main self-titled listings since it's a promo for that album.
But it has different stuff on it.
I know. Well,
it should not be merged.
Yeah. Well, it's listed as a totally separate album.
Oh,
and then on Discogs, you can have an album and then multiple separate versions under that. So, yeah, I would love to be able to hear 17 Magazine alternate version. And I'm wondering who labeled it alternate version, because that's not in the one picture. It doesn't say alternate version. It just says... Oh, wait. Oh, no, never mind. It doesn't say it. Yeah, so somewhere out there, it's a different version, apparently, of 17 Magazine. But then again, this says partially mixed.
Oh,
so I'm like,
hear that.
Yeah, I'm like, are they actually different instrumentation? Is it actually a different studio take? Is it a demo? Or is it the same song from the album, but mixed differently? Or was an instrument missing, or an extra instrument they cut?
This isn't on All Work, No Play, right?
No, it's not.
No.
Yeah. So there's that. And if anyone out there has this... Apparently it's sold October 15th for $50. I can't believe we were doing the podcast when this went up.
Oh, man.
That sucks. I would have paid $50 for this, honestly.
Yeah.
I think we'd have to.
Yeah.
So if it ever goes up again, we'll hopefully be able to get a copy, or whoever bought it, please send us those MP3s.
Yes.
Burned off of your blank CD. Ripped off of your blank CD.
I wonder if Heavy Metal is that thing at the end of K-Car. You know, there's like 5 minutes of silence after K-Car and then like a little thing.
No. I don't think I've ever... I'd have to go listen to it because I don't think I've ever recalled that there's a hidden track on the first
I've mentioned
album.
This before, and you've been like, I don't know what you're talking about.
I think we talked about another episode where I was like, yeah, maybe because of all the pre-gap tracks.
Yeah.
All the pre-gap tracks that Relient K does on their CDs, which I found out there's one on Air for Free. I was like,
oh man.
And it's like 2016. Who's going looking for a pre-gap zero track on a CD? I was like, okay. Anyway, there was a point where when I was like in middle school in my grunge phase, I always looked for hidden tracks. It's honestly. But then by the time I got into my pop punk ska phase, which is the phase I'm still in and have been in for the last 25 years or whatever, however old I am. 20 years.
You just made yourself way older.
I made myself way older. I think it's more like 20 years. At that point, I was really bad at looking for hidden tracks. Like even just the simplest thing, going to the end of the CD and looking if there's a hidden track. Never good at it. So I don't think you know what? This is absolutely true because I remember it was actually Johnny, my friend Johnny in high school, who told me about the Skittles and Combos song. He's like, we got to bring Skittles and Combos to the Relient K show tonight. And I'm like, what are you talking about? He's like, at the end of the CD, and I think it would be Anatomy. He's like, at the end of the CD, there's a hidden track that you got to bring Skittles and Combos and throw it at them at the show. I'm like, oh, I didn't notice this track. I was just really bad. Nothing to Relient K, just all bands. I was bad at looking for hidden tracks. But I just realized someday we're going to have to eat Skittles and combos as research for that hidden track when we do the Skittles and combos episode. And I hate Skittles and I hate combos.
Skittles and combos episode? What are combos?
They're like pretzel bites.
Oh, I don't think I've ever had one.
With a chalky, oh no, you know what? It's with a chalky cheese or meat substance in the middle.
Ew, what?
It's like a, I don't know how else to describe it. They're imagine, okay, here we go. Okay, hold on. If you've never seen a combo, imagine a hot dog in what do you call those little hot dogs in a bun? No,
Pigs in a blanket?
Pigs in a blanket. Imagine a pig in a blanket. Okay. Now imagine.
Is it like a Ritz Bits?
Ritz Bits. What's a Ritz Bits?
Like a cracker with cheese or peanut butter in the center.
No, because imagine a pig in a blanket, but instead of you know how it's 360 of bun or whatever. Imagine that 360 degrees is pretzel.
I see.
But now imagine that the hot dog in the middle is like a chalky cheese substance.
Ah, I gotcha.
And now imagine that you can make that chalky cheese substance like pepperoni flavor instead.
Right. Okay. Gotcha.
And I just realized because you and me are trying to go vegan recently, that's a big development. We're going to have to break it for combos. I mean,
do I have to?
I'll do it.
Because I'm also gluten-free, so
right.
I don't think I can have a combo anyway.
I think when we do the Skittles and Combos episode, it's just going to be me eating Skittles and Combos while we're talking with my mouth full.
That'll be the bit. That's the sketch for that day.
Yeah. So
17 Magazine.
17 Magazine. So yeah, heavy metal could be the hidden track. We'll listen to that. But you know what we could listen to it on? We could listen to it on our vinyl.
That's right.
Because we did not ever own a vinyl copy of the self-titled album, and then I surprised Jessica on her birthday with it. Mm-hmm. She's been getting a lot of Relient K gifts recently, and I'm like, I can write all this off on our taxes. But Collide Records, who we discovered on our Halloween Blues episode, the same day that I bought the Friday the 13th 7-inch.
Yeah.
And I bought our gold copy of Two Lefts Don't Make a Right. I also they had copies of the self-titled vinyl record.
Nice.
Yeah. And I was like, they were like $40. And I was like, that's pretty steep. But it was your birthday. However, I looked and everywhere else they started at $60 used. So like it's probably one of the last places in the world you will ever be able to buy a new copy of the self-titled vinyl.
How do you know it's not bootleg?
It's numbered. It's hand numbered. We're really high in the 2000 because it's 2,000 hand numbered copies. I think we're really close to 2,000.
Nice.
So Collide Records, get on it if you want a somewhat reasonably priced copy of the vinyl. But we did listen to 17 Magazine.
Yeah, it sounds like the vocals are mixed a little higher. Like, I don't know, it's a little more
It could just be the warmness of
nasally.
the vinyl.
That could be.
Right. And I've noticed actually with a lot of our Relient K vinyl, which we don't have all of it. We have like Air for Free.
Air for Free sounds
Lefts.
amazing.
Yeah. But I noticed on the Two Lefts vinyl, I think his vocals sound a little pitched up, a little higher. And I was wondering, is that our record player or is that like a mastering sort of decision?
Because it sounded like it was pitched up for 17 Magazine.
Right. So I don't know. I don't know enough about vinyl science to to tell you how that could be happening. I guess if we take it to someone else's record player, we could see if it sounds the same.
Yeah, we have another record player kicking around somewhere. I think it's in the storage unit.
Yeah, that's true. So anyway, 17 Magazine.
So I have always loved this song. I've mentioned before that Anatomy was the first Relient K album I heard, but the self-titled was the first one I owned.
Right.
And Two Lefts was already out at this time, but the store that I went to only had the self-titled album.
Okay.
And so that's the one I bought. And I definitely remember I went to Virgin Megastore in Orlando.
Nice.
And I remember holding it in my hands and reading the back and being like, all right, none of these sounded like Sadie Hawkins Dance was, of course, the song that I really grasped onto and was like, oh my gosh, I love this. And I was like, none of these seem like they're probably that song, but I'm going to get it anyway because I'm reading the back and I'm like, all right, track 1, Hello McFly. Yes, I love Back to the Future. Mm-hmm. this is a must. And I'm like looking back down and I'm like, Charles in Charge. All right, I never watched that show, but I love the 80s and I'm into it. Let's do it. And then I'm like, 17 Magazine. I read 17 Magazine. Nancy Drew. I love Nancy Drew. They have all these things.
Balloon rides. I love balloon rides. Staples. I shop there all the time.
And I was one of those people, and I still am, who I guess not as much anymore because you don't really get CDs anymore. You just go to Apple or Spotify and you pick which song you want to listen to and that's it. But I remember I was one of those people that like when you get a CD, I would just definitely like skip tracks. Like if I'm like, this one's a little too slow. This one's a little too whatever. I just want to get to the song I want to listen to.
Right.
I remember 17 Magazine coming on and being like, oh, I like this.
That Virgin Megastore, well, long before I met you and long before I knew I'd be going to college in Orlando, we were on vacation to Orlando, my family and I, my parents and my sister and I. And I know I bought Fillmore, which is not a band you would have ever heard of, but they were this Christian pop punk band on 5 Minute Walk Records, which is Five Iron Frenzy's record label. I think they were even from Denver as well. And then I also bought Run for Your Life, which was a Christian ska band that was on the secular record label Jump Up Records.
Oh.
Because I was with my parents, and if I was going to convince them, because I was also looking at NoFX CDs, and like I'd like to get a NoFX CD, but I'm not going to trick my dad into getting this. So I was like, if I go up to him and I say these are Christian records, he'll get them for me. You know what I mean?
Do all NoFX CDs have like a parental advisory?
No, none of them do.
No. Oh, really?
Because they're not part of the record industry association.
Really?
Or whatever it's called. Yeah, RIAA or whatever. Yeah.
I thought just like everybody had to do that. I thought it was like a morality police thing.
No, you just have to, if you're not part of a major label, then you don't have to do that.
Oh.
Because you have to be part of like the major labels to be considered for that or judged for it or whatever.
I did not know that.
And sometimes like smaller records that nobody gives a crap about wouldn't end up with those stickers. Like Green Day's Dookie doesn't have a parental advisory sticker, but it's got plenty of swears and it's got dogs throwing shit on the cover. You know what I mean?
Right.
And then Enema of the State didn't have one when it first came out because I don't think anyone cared about Blink-182. Like that's the thing about the parental advisory sticker is it wasn't like a standard. There wasn't like a set rule of like these albums are dirty enough to get stamped and these ones aren't. Yeah. Anyway.
I remember when I was going to film camp, because I went to film camp for a few years, one of my friends was like really upset because she was a huge Blink-182 fan and left like almost all of her Blink-182 CDs at home. And she went one day to the Virgin Megastore and rebought like her whole Blink-182 collection. And I was like, wow, that is dedication and somebody who really needs their Blink-182.
Interesting. Wasn't Napster around by then?
Yeah, I'm sure. But like, there was no Wi-Fi at the hotel. This is before then.
Right. So yeah, 17. I think we talked about it once before, but I got this. Now we're going back to 17 Magazine and the Relient K self-titled. I got this album because I would regularly go record shopping because my relatively small town in Massachusetts had like 8 record stores. Like we were a nothing town. But just because it was the 90s and there were record stores everywhere.
Magical.
I know, we had so many record stores. And one of them that was in my rotation was the Christian bookstore in our town, which was not one of the mainstream chains. It was like an independent one. But they would carry everything from all those, Tooth and Nail and all that stuff. That's where I got my first MXPX CD. And I was there one time and I saw Relient K and I'm like, this looks like something I'll like because they're... 4 guys running on the cover, right. Doing that whole thing. I'm like, it looks like the cover of a Get Up Kids CD. So I think this will probably be something in line with me. So there might have been a listening station, or I might have just bought it on pure luck or whatever. And yeah, and then they were supposed to play, I think, with the Supertones, maybe. I think I looked up this tour and they didn't make it to Boston. They were opening. They were like the first of 4 bands because they weren't anybody yet. Mm-hmm. And I looked up this tour and I already forgot about it. I should have written it down. But they didn't play. that night, the first time I was supposed to see them, and I had just bought their CD like weeks before.
Was it because it was fall? They couldn't go to Boston since it was fall?
Yes. They're like, someday the VeggieTales are going to write this song. Not yet, but when they do, we'll have to cover it. And we need to be honest about this. Anyway, 17 Magazine. Yeah, I love this song because, talking about Florida and going to college there, like by the time we were dating, right? And because we met discussing, new listeners, we met in college, and Relient K was one of like our first talking points when we were just friends. And then by the time we were dating and college was like winding down, we'd already been there for years. Jessica lived in Florida. She lived near Orlando, and I moved to Orlando to go to school there. And we would drive to your parents' house occasionally, which was like 40 minutes south. And you'd be like, we're going to my parents' house, and you'd have a whole playlist picked out or a whole like activity for the next 40 minutes, because that's the kind of stuff you used to do. You're like, we're going to read this book on the way, or we're going to listen to this album on the way. And 17 Magazine was a regular one that you would have picked out.
Yeah.
Do you remember that? Yeah, you used to.
It's one of my favorite Relient K songs.
It was part of your regular rotation of the 40-minute drive to my parents' house.
I voted for it on the fan curated
I
vinyl.
Did too,
Didn't make it. Bummer.
That's right. I always think of that on ramp.
Yes.
Near your place in Orlando. I don't know why I'm being guarded about where we lived in Orlando. Like anyone can go look us up there, but I'm actually being guarded about the geography of a place we haven't lived in like 8-10 years. Anyway, my notes for the song. I realized, like, now that I have a slightly more attuned ear, and nostalgia, isn't like the absolute defining factor of this album for me. I kind of hear the not the flaws, but I'm like, oh, this isn't as tightly produced as their later albums, right? So I kind of realized that
you should like it. It makes it more punk rock, Dan.
Yeah. Well, I felt like the vocals on this track feel very compressed or something. They just feel a little bit more like tinny, like more like they've been through the digital ringer or the like the mixing board one too many times or something. Don't really know how to describe it. Not a music industry person, but you know what I mean. Like it just, the vocals sound a little like like just digitally compressed or something. They don't sound full. They don't sound rich. And I also kind of realized how much rougher Matt Thiessen's vocal. He was always a very good singer, but I'm like, yeah, he is just kind of talk singing, like melodically talk singing in this song. One lyric that I wanted to note for this song is, and I guess we can talk about the lyrics in general, and I'll get to my note. Talked to my sister late last night. It's talked to my sister late last night. She gave me some advice, and what she said was right. Talked to my sister late last night. I said I've got her on my mind. She said it's good I know my kind. So this first verse, my note is, the pronouns are very confusing. We get what's going on. We've heard the song enough times. We know he's talking to his sister, and he's in love with a third girl, right? A third character.
Maybe this is where the person who submitted the misunderstood lyrics got that from.
Maybe, because then it like not the tense, but the point of view switches, where, because he starts out saying, I talked to my sister late last night. She gave me some advice. The point of view narrator of this song is the singer, is the vocalist, is Matt Thiessen, right? And then he says, I said, I've got her on my mind. And she said, it's good I know my kind. Except, like, grammar-wise, it should be, she said, it's good you know your kind. Right?
Right.
Because the point of view is from him as the narrator. And what she would have said was, it's good you know your kind. But he kind of fudges it a little bit and changes the point of view to himself, even though he's quoting her. Because if she said, it's good I know my kind, then Jessica, his sister, would be saying, I know my kind. And Matt Thiessen would be like, but we thought we were talking about me. Do you know what I'm saying?
I get what you're saying.
Yeah. So that's my one major criticism about this song. is this first verse kind of flip-flops all over the place in terms of like narrative point of view, right?
Yes.
Yeah. And then also,
I've never noticed that before. I'm glad you pointed that out.
I've noticed this for a long time, and I've never had an outlet to discuss it. I was waiting for this moment.
This whole
This
podcast
is why we did
was
the podcast.
leading up to this, yeah.
I honestly, this is something I noticed from like back then. It's not something I give a lot of thought to, but it's a thought that I've always had about this song. But then one thought that just recently came to me listening to this is that when he said, when she said, "It's good I know my kind," I was like, I know what he means. He means it's like she's saying, hey, it's good you know what kind of girl you like. But the line almost makes it sound like West Side Story, like stick with your own kind. It almost makes it sound racist. It's like, it's good you know your kind. Stick to your own kind. I know that's not what it means, but it's just what comes to mind.
I think my I think my misheard lyric was always, I thought he said type. Like, it's good I know my type.
It probably would be better with type.
Because, yeah, type is like, you know what type of person you're into.
Yeah. And I wonder if it is type. It could be type, and the lyrics could be online wrong, because I'm too lazy to go get our book, our CD book.
You mean, oh yeah, there's not been the sound of clickety clacking this whole episode because Danny does not have the book in front of him.
We have our Christmas CDs still sitting here because we're doing another pot of Christmas soon. But no, I don't have the book in front of me. So lyrically, the song is like very respectful. It's like a respectful meme.
Yes.
You know those memes where you take a reaction meme, but you make it all about respecting women?
It's like the John Legend, Kelly Clarkson version of
Yes.
Baby It's Cold Outside.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing. If you haven't heard it, because I wouldn't have heard it if Jessica didn't tell me about it. Kelly Clarkson and John Legend redid Baby It's Cold Outside to be less creepy.
Yeah, it's updated.
Less leering and less grabby.
Yeah. Yes.
And she sings all the original lyrics, but he's singing respectful lyrics about, let me call you an Uber.
Yeah.
And he's like, your guy's outside. His name's Jim or something.
Yeah. First time Danny heard it, he's like, oh no, this isn't serious, is it?
And then I realized when they were singing about the Uber driver and his name and he'll be there in 2 minutes, like I was
and
like,
then
oh, this
comes
is
into the song in the end.
Yeah, and then he actually shows up. I'm like, okay, this is a joke. It's a joke. One other criticism I can kind of make of this song is it's like there's two things going on here, right? It's kind of ironic. The sentiment is kind of like a joking, ironic, winking thing that he's in love with a girl, and he goes to his sister to talk about it, and she's like, here, let's go through my 17 magazine and take this quiz, and you'll find out if you're really in love, right? Mm-hmm. Like, it's an ironic, jokey, winky thing, saying, ha ha ha, magazines don't really know what love is. And there's no reference specifically, and not that I can recall, but there's no reference specifically to God or Christ or, biblical love, agape love, or anything like that. Right. But it feels like a very, very common theme in the year 2000, especially with, like, save yourself for marriage and, like, I Kiss Dating Goodbye and, like, promise rings and stuff. There was, that's sort of part of the Christian pop culture and the movement in certain churches and stuff. So, and even if you're not talking about that sort of extreme in the, like, Christian concept of dating and sex and stuff, if you're just talking about just Christian kids trying to figure out what's love and all that stuff, like, it's a very common theme in Christian pop and pop rock music to be like respectful love songs, you know what I mean? Sure. But to also sort of make a biting commentary on, magazines, they don't know what love is, right?
Yeah.
And actually, I think that's a reasonable point of view. And even though that's definitely a Christian point of view to be like, oh, the secular world and secular magazines don't really know what love is, right? That's a very Christian point of view. But I think also the secular world can say the exact same thing. Like, oh, these pop self-help books, these quick little things to poison our kids with shopping is good and all that stuff. Like, you don't need a religious point of view to say magazines don't really know what love is. But I can see it from the Christian particular point of view.
This is not where I thought this discussion was going to go, but
where did you think it was going to go?
I'm kind of here for it.
Okay.
I don't know where I thought it was going to go, but biting commentary on
But
love.
it's like a cutesy commentary. Because there's definitely, like, in the Christian culture war and, like, the Christian pop culture war against secular living and secular ideas, there's always, like, a vilification of magazines, just in general. Did you ever get that sense from any churches or schools? You didn't go to a Christian school, but any churches or youth groups you went to, where it's like, you know, movies are often bad. TV is very often bad. Magazines, they're always bad. Like, that's a sense that I definitely got from things, because, you know, there's these sexual ads, which are akin to pornography when you try to think this cleanly.
No, I mean, the only thing that came close was that I don't remember what episode we discussed this in, was that my youth pastor put out like an email where he reviewed movies. He like wrote a scathing review of Sin City, and I was super disappointed. Yeah, I was super disappointed in that, because I loved Sin City. I thought it was like a really great artistic movie, and I just didn't get where he was coming from with so much hate.
That was your first and pretty much only time experiencing someone in your Christian community vilifying secular media. I was very much used to that idea in the various churches that I went to. I mean, I went to a number of different kind of denominations, and that was a common theme.
Yeah, because I was like, I don't know. I feel like I have a very differing view here, and then I just kind of distanced myself. I don't know.
Right. So I guess my point that I was going towards with this is like it's like a funny commentary on magazines. They don't really know what love is. But then, like, pulling back with the sands of time and, like, thinking about, like, being a teenager and hearing this song and, like, thinking you got this crush and you're like, I love this girl in school and I'm totally clean about the way I appreciate her and think she's beautiful and I just want to respect her, right? It's like, that's going to go real well because girls love being respected in high school, right? That's the guys they always love. You know what I'm saying?
I know what you're saying.
I'm being real I'm crossing the incel line.
Yeah, I see what you're doing.
But anyway, that was my experience in high school. Nobody cared about the respectful pudgy boy.
I would have cared about the respectful pudgy boy.
I know you would have. But we've talked about it. Our age difference is fine now as adults, but we never could have dated in school.
Nope. We never would have known each other in school.
And I guess so one thing that came to mind listening to 17 Magazine, it's like I've never seen your motives so squeaky clean, that line.
Yeah.
It reminded me of in the...
We know what Matt Thiessen is about.
But it reminded me that this kind of feeds into that. It reminded me of in the Wet Hot American Summer movie, when towards the end, when Michael Showalter's character is talking to I can't remember her name, but the main female character in the movie and the series. You know what I'm talking about?
Yes.
When he's like, I can't remember the actual lines, but he's like, I care about you and I love you. And sure, I want to have sex with you, but that's not all it's about. Something like that. Yeah. That's what comes to mind.
Oh, man, first day of camp is so good.
It is. It took us a while to come around to it.
It did. 10 years later is okay, but first day of camp is so good.
10 years later just suffers from the fact that you could tell everyone couldn't be there at the same time. Did I have any other notes on the song? So yeah, I guess this album, this song is just, it's real cutesy, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's just cute and fun.
Yeah. And
it's real wholesome.
Yeah, it's
real clean cut and wholesome.
It's a wholesome, respectful meme.
I love it.
So 17 Magazine on the album it's spelled 1-7 magazine on the back of the CD, but the album, the magazine is spelled out as the word 17 magazine. So I'm like, was that some sort of like trademark skirting thing that they did?
Well, that's Relient K's trademark move, Danny.
It is. That's that's what that song's about.
Yeah.
They're like, we got to make a trademark move so we don't get sued by 17 magazine. And I guess my last note is like, I kind of never realized, but this album, the self-titled album, is kind of a cultural milieu, right? For the time. It's very stamped, very time-stamped, because obviously there's Marilyn Manson referenced in it. But then I didn't think, then in this song they mention NSYNC, right?
Yeah.
So it's like you get this whole, like, Relient K was really speaking to their time. They're like, hey, you teenagers out there, we know you like Marilyn Manson and NSYNC. We're going to mention them, so you'll be interested in us. I also recently thought about this album, and I realized something that probably helped Relient K build their audience is that, like, the tracks on this album, they mention Matt Thiessen twice. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Almost like a rap album. Like, one of the reasons like rap artists kind of have these personalities that are so big and why they're so popular is because they can actually like talk about themselves in their albums and mention their own names.
Yeah.
Almost like how the way Pokemon are marketed, where they say their own names over and over, so it's in the kid's head, and they're like, I want a Bulbasaur. You know what I mean?
Yes.
It's like rap artists can be like, this is my name, and here I am, and, you know, spend your money on me. But then how many rock bands can really say, like, these are our name, this is my name, check me out, like, I'm a guy, and I'm playing. But they mentioned Matt Thiessen's name in the opening sketch to Marilyn Manson, and then in the Charles in Charge thing that they do right before the solo. So it's kind of like, it's kind of really clever marketing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And then they introduce us to Hoops in the third album.
Yeah. Because like if you're the Beatles, or even if you're Blink-182, like you just kind of know that the like media and social media are going to get the image of the individual people. Well, I guess that's social media for the Beatles. And only social media a little bit for Blink-182. But, you know, you're going to appear on TV and people are going to be interviewed and everyone's going to know the names of Ringo and George and Paul and Petey or whatever his name is. Joe Bean. And, but then, anyway, this is a totally stupid tangent. I'm just saying, clever Relient K dropping Matt Thiessen's name twice on the album, so everyone has that name in their head, and it just kind of helps fans sort of like get an image of the band. Because I've got so many albums that I love that I have no idea who picture of who the band is. Yeah. Like so many ska and punk albums that I own, that I love, that I listen to over and over, bands that I never saw, bands that maybe were together for only a year or two, and I have no idea who those people are. Like maybe now I could look them up on YouTube and see some live footage that I never would have seen at the time. Anyway, 17 magazine.
Yeah, I totally get it. Like, I'm a Smashing Pumpkins fan, but up until recently, I only knew Billy Corgan. Like, that's, you know Billy Corgan, but you don't necessarily know, like, the other members of the band.
Unless maybe you were living it at the time.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I definitely don't know any of the current members of Smashing Pumpkins.
Yeah, I think Jimmy's back, maybe?
Right.
I don't remember now.
Did you... we want to do some fun 17 magazine stuff, right?
Yes, yeah. So because I didn't find a lot, I've got like things like 10 magazines every 90s girl read. I've got an article about that. And I've also got, I was like, we could take a 17 magazine quiz for fun. That's another thing we could possibly do. Or when I woke up Sunday morning thinking that we were recording that night and didn't realize yet that I had a fever, I wrote a fanfic in 3 minutes.
Okay.
Because I was like, you know what? I didn't find a lot on this. I love the weird stuff. Let's make our own weird stuff.
All right.
So we're just going to see how this plays. It was a dark and stormy night in the small town of Canton, Ohio. Matthew Thiessen, a cute, lanky junior, stood in the doorway of his sister Jessica's room. He rapped his knuckles against the door jamb. Jessica, who had been sprawled out across her bed reading a magazine, looked up and gave her brother a warm smile. I made sure that this included all of the fanfic tropes.
Okay.
Matt hesitated for a moment. Hey, Jess, you think I could talk to you for a second? Jessica closed the magazine and patted the bed next to her. Of course, Maddie. Matt crossed the room and plopped down on the bed. What's on your mind? Jessica asked.
Are you the one who said that you misheard those lyrics? I know you're going for all the fan fiction tropes, I understand. But this is just loaded with unintended sexual tension.
That was the one I wasn't going for. Matt ran a hand through his tousled blonde hair. It's this girl at school. Jessica smiled knowingly, waiting for her brother to continue. She's really pretty and smart and funny, and I think I'm in love. Jessica's eyebrows shot up. In love, she asks. Matt just quietly nodded his head. You think? You don't know for sure? Matt shook his head from side to side. A wide grin spread across Jessica's face. She sits up a little with a bounce and crosses her legs under her, grabbing for the forgotten magazine. She flips through it excitedly before finding the page she was looking for. She jabs her finger at the title, holding it out for Matt to see.
You're mixing your tenses.
I am mixing my tenses.
I know you wrote it in the morning with a developing fever.
I actually wrote it in one tense, and as I'm reading it, just mixing them up. How to tell if you're in love? Excuse me. How to tell if you're in love? He asked. Jessica beamed at him. Yep, this 10 yes or no question quiz is foolproof.
I love that you're just taking the song and just stretching it out like an accordion. Like, imagine if these were the lyrics to the song. A 10-minute song.
This is what fan fiction is.
I understand.
Matt looks skeptical. Jessica nudges her brother. Come on, what have you got to lose? Besides, what else were you planning on doing tonight? Well, Hoops and I were gonna go get some food and hit up movies 4. Jessica...
Ooh, crossover.
Jessica barreled right on through. Question 1. Matt sighed. Do you like NSYNC? Matt's brow furrowed. What does that have to do with being in love? Jessica gave an exasperated sigh. Just answer the question. Yeah, sure, they're okay, Matt lied. Jessica nodded and reached for a pen from the nightstand, marking something down. Okay, question 2. Would you say that your middle name's Don Juan? A sly grin spread across Matt's lips.
I wouldn't have thought that the questions in the song would just be literally asking, is your middle name Don Juan?
The thing is that the song says 10 yes or no questions.
But then I thought that this would just be the results of the questions. You know, like in the end, you add them up and it's like, your middle name is Don Juan and you like NSYNC.
But he says that he lied and says he likes NSYNC in the song.
Oh, I don't think I ever noticed that.
Yep. A sly grin spread across Matt's lips. Oh, yeah. Jessica rolled her eyes. Question 3. Are you sure of yourself? I think, Matt responded, though it sounded more like a question than a definitive statement. Jessica again marked something down and continued. 4. Are you doing it all for the nookie? What? No way, Matt responded, a cool sweat breaking out across the back of his neck. Jessica asks a few more questions before tallying up the answers in the back. Matt sits quietly waiting. Okay, are you ready for your results? Matt nodded. Your motives have never been more squeaky clean. Maybe this time she's just the one you need. But take your time. You shouldn't go for her full speed. Jessica smiles up at her brother.
I'm just setting some background music.
Listen, Matt, if you're asking me, love is sacred, love is sweet, and my 17 magazine tells me that you're in love. An excited blush broke out across Matt's cheeks. Thanks, sis. He jumped off the bed. I'm going to go call Emily and ask her out right now.
Why'd you decide the name's Emily?
I don't know. Jessica chuckled at her brother's antics, turning back to her magazine as he rushed out the door. Because it had to have an OC, an original character, that was clearly an avatar for the author. That's why. I couldn't say Jessica. The sister's name's Jessica.
We could have picked your middle name.
I could have. I just didn't think about it.
Just
picked a 90s girl name.
Well, A 90s girl name would be Laura Croft. I'm going to go tell Laura Croft right now that I love her. Boots up his PC and his PlayStation or whatever. I love you, Laura. Someday I'll figure out the nude code, but only when we're married. That's amazing. Thank you very much for that, Jessica. I'm so glad I don't have to take one of those quizzes now. We did that instead, right?
That's completely up to you.
Why, do you have the quizzes ready? How much time will it take?
I don't know.
It'd probably take a really long time.
I didn't pre-screen the screen. I did not pre-screen the quizzes.
Okay.
But I found one that was, first of all, I spent a lot of time trying to find like an archived one and couldn't because I wanted to find one from like 1999, 2000.
Right.
But unfortunately, I could not find it.
Central Library and pull old copies.
I just found one from November 21st of this year that was, are you in love or is it a crush?
What if we take it about each other and we find out you just have a crush on me, but I'm in love?
Do you have things in common with your crush, Danny? So much we could talk for hours about our shared interests. I don't know. We don't talk much.
I'm confused. Oh, those are the answers.
Those are the
for
answers. For you, there's two.
We
for you to
have
pick from.
so much to talk about. Yeah, I just have to assume you're my crush.
Oh, this tells you how many people, the percentage of people that answered
nice.
this. 29% said we don't have much to talk about. 71% said we talk about our shared interests all the time. Do you have any inside jokes? So many?
Yes, so many.
Or we don't really talk enough to have any?
Just tell me if it's the majority answer.
It is the majority answer.
Okay.
Could you see your crush turning into something more serious?
Definitely.
OMG, that would be amazing. Or, no, I actually kind of enjoy admiring them from afar. 14% answered that one.
I love how all the questions are basically like, do you know the person or no?
Yeah.
And then you're like, I know the person. And then the next question is, do you know the person or no?
Yeah. Is this a celebrity or a person in your real life?
Yeah. Is this Laura Croft or a person in your real life?
When you're around your crush, you get all nervous and giggly, are able to play it cool.
I'm able to play it cool with you all the time. I'm so cool around you.
Well, you picked the minority answer.
Oh.
49% said are able to play it cool.
I'm comfortable with you.
Giggly and nervous said 51. Do you think your head could be turned by someone else? No way. My crush is the only one for me. Possibly ...
Is the distracted boyfriend meme like sitting on that with that question?
No, but that would be amazing if it was.
No one else can turn my head.
This one's very close. You answered the one that 55% of people did, but 45% of people said possibly. How often do you talk to your crush?
Their motives aren't squeaky clean.
I know. How often do you talk to your crush? Literally all the time.
Literally.
It's still a secret.
Literally all the time. I guess this doesn't really count when I'm talking about my wife. But I'm just doing my best. How many questions are left?
I don't know. Oh my gosh, so many.
Oh, we're not finishing this. Whoa.
This is like entirely too many.
They're acting like this is a real clinical quiz, and like, no, it's just like, do you love them or no?
No joke. There's like 50.
Okay, we're not finishing this tonight. Sorry, folks. We're not going to find out if I have a real crush on Jessica or not.
Oh man, I needed to know though.
I'll finish it later, and then you can check us out on patreon.com/SadieHawkinsPod and see the results of that quiz.
Smooth.
Sometime in January. It's been sitting there, and people can sign up and get nothing for it. But in January,
we'll have perks
real
and
content
stuff. Yeah.
Anything else to discuss, or should we go into covers and live stuff?
Let's get into covers and live stuff.
So there's only one official live performance of this, or one. I always say official. I don't mean it's like official release, but the actual band.
Right.
When I say official, I mean the real bands involved. There's only one official live performance of this on YouTube. Coincidentally, two people feet apart from each other in the front row, both recorded it and both put it up on YouTube.
Oh, wow.
This is in 2013
Oh, wow.
in Birmingham, Alabama. Both Matts in 2013.
I can't believe they played it this decade.
I know.
That's amazing. I'm jealous.
I can't remember why I have this in my brain, but I feel like it might have just been like someone requested it. Maybe at the end of the video he says like, thanks for requesting that or something.
Oh.
But in one of the two videos. So yeah, two different people filmed it, and you don't see them film each other, but it's the exact same show. And so you can see Matt Thiessen from his left profile and his right profile. I think this was the better sounding one. Let's see. So yes, acoustic as well. They're not playing it with the full band. Cool. I guess like the rest of the band went and took a smoke break, and then the two Matts stayed on stage and played some acoustic songs.
Talked to my sister late last night, and she gave me some advice. What she said was right. Talked to my sister late last night. I said I got her on my mind. She said it's good, I know my kind. And maybe this time, maybe she's just the one you need. Keep taking your time, you shouldn't go for her full speed. And maybe this time, maybe she's just the one you need. Because I know that I've never seen your motives more squeaky clean. And my 17 magazine tells me that we're in love.
That's a fun little campfire version. It's also fun to hear it with Matt's more
melodic,
vocals,
professional singing voice. Yeah. It's I kind of forgot. I had one other note on the song now that I'm thinking of it, because he pulls back and he kind of jams on the acoustic guitar for a second. The structure of this song feels oddly lopsided to me because there's a guitar solo after the first chorus, right? Like he finishes, it tells me that you're in love. The first time he says that, and then it goes into a guitar solo. Yeah. And typically I think of a guitar solo as being about 3/4 through a song. You know what I mean? But it's just smack dab in the middle. Like at the very least you do the chorus twice before you do a guitar solo.
Heck yeah, they're just that rockin' Danny.
They're like, we can't wait. We got a guitar solo. We got to make up for that Charles in Charge one. So yeah, that's a really nice thing that they did to play this in 2013. And as far as I can tell, when I look at set list, and this is a song I feel like I've definitely seen live in the early days of me seeing them live, but I have no proof of that. And we have got to get, before we started this podcast, I was going through old VHS tapes and I found some Relient K bootlegs that I bought that aren't on YouTube. One's from Soulfest, from one of the they did the cafe shows, not the main stage shows, but they did like smaller venue shows inside like the ski lodge.
Nice.
And then there's that one I talked about with Five Iron Frenzy where they did the karaoke thing.
You've got to bust those out.
I don't have the karaoke one. I wish I had that because I was up on stage for that one, but I got to bust those out and see what other songs they perform on there. Yeah. Because I went through the Detroit show, the one with Steven on drums, and I was like, oh, please 17 Magazine be in here, and it wasn't. Oh. And then I left, after I went through, I left comments as Sadie Hawkins Pod YouTube on the videos with the time codes for all the songs. I'm like, I need these for the future so I can remember what songs to talk about. So this is like one of the only times listed on Setlist FM of them playing this live. There's like only 2 performances recorded on Setlist. So at the very least in the modern era, they really have apparently only played this in Birmingham. Then we can kind of get into covers and fun stuff, which is very short tonight. I even mixed fan stuff and covers into one group because they weren't enough to do both. Someone did a tutorial This is kind of funny because there's this young kid in 2013. Oh, Relient K stuff. We've talked about him before.
Oh, yeah.
And there's a Relient K stuff Twitter account. I think we talked about this last time we saw the Relient K stuff YouTube channel. I was like, is it the same Relient K stuff on Twitter? And he saw the Birmingham live video. And then he's like, okay, he doesn't say the Birmingham live video, but he's like, there's this live acoustic version online, and I watched how he played it, and here's how I think he played it. And then he kind of is like, but he just, I don't want to make fun of him, but he just figured it out like right before he started recording. So he doesn't really have it all down yet.
Gotcha.
And he's like, wait, no, I guess it's this thing or whatever. Yeah, it's funny. It's interesting. And he'll really show you how to play the song. There's a couple different things also called 17 Magazine by artists. This one, because it sounded the most like something I would have listened to at the time, it's from 2002 by a band called Day of Less. And they also spelled it with the numbers 17 instead of the word 17 Magazine. And it was released by Rise Records, who I have all kinds of Rise Records, but I've never heard of this particular album. This is what it sounds like.
This is so like angsty mid 2000s.
But it's like post-hardcore. It's kind of bordering on maybe like sort of rap. If you hear this, you might think rap rock at first.
Yeah,
but
I was
when you
like,
hear,
it's a little POD-ish.
But now here we go. This is when it gets into
Okay.
the deep elm, like Branston, Appleseed Cast sort of thing. Here we go. See? This is more of the Jawbreaker sort of thing. But this is a band I definitely would have listened to. You know, the thing is, I had rap rock albums, and I never really liked them. It was basically like the second wave of grunge for me, where like I liked grunge because it was the only thing I'd found that was cool, but I didn't really love grunge. And then when rap rock came out, I was like, this is cool, but I was like just forcing myself to like rap rock because it was cool and it was in the mainstream and I wanted to be a part of something that was relatively cool.
And then you discovered ska and you just never turned back.
I didn't.
You were like, I found my home in music.
I did. And then I found two different stand-up comedians on Spotify who have tracks called 17 Magazine. And both of them I can't really play because they're very sexually explicit.
They're not wholesome like Relient
They're
K
not
17
wholesome
Magazine.
at all. One isn't about 17 Magazine at all. It's about just basically, I don't know if it's worse not to explain it, but it's about like a mishap while having sex. Like something getting lost,
Okay.
you know?
Sure.
And he's like, how do we retrieve this thing? It's like he's looking online and trying to figure it out, and he finds an article on 17 Magazine
Gotcha.
about how to
Yep.
remove things
Understandable.
from... Yeah.
Gotcha.
And I was like,
That
that's...
sounds like more of a Cosmo question
I
than
know,
answer, but
so maybe he was lying for the comedy.
yeah.
But then the other one is he's actually talking about weird articles on 17 Magazine in the modern day. Because I think 17 Magazine definitely is a lot more sexual. Probably was sexual in the 90s as well.
Yeah.
More sexual than we'd want to admit. Because magazines,
I actually didn't read
vilified.
I didn't read a lot of 17 Magazine. I went from like as a kid reading like Nickelodeon magazine and Disney Adventure magazine to like Teen Vogue. I had a subscription to Teen Vogue.
Nice.
And I'm trying to think of like maybe I'd buy like an issue of 17 Magazine if I was like, ooh, NSYNC's on the cover or something like that. But yeah.
When I was a young kid, I used to read like Popular Mechanics and Forbes. And then I was like, and then my dad was like, don't you want to read something fun, like some comic books? And I was like, please, Father.
Neither one of us really read magazines anymore. I read Women's Health for a long time, but not anymore.
I don't read magazines at all. I gave it like years ago, like maybe 5-6 years ago. I got like a magazine subscription from someone for charity, and it's like every single one of them went into the recycling. Like it'll sit around forever, and I just won't read it, and it just goes in the recycling.
Yeah.
And now I get AAA magazine, and I'm like, I'll thumb through it, and I'm like, goes in the trash. I don't have time for magazines.
Yeah, magazines, that's tough in the age of the internet. But I'm like, I could just get all these answers online or go to the publication's website or something.
Yeah, I guess people used to get magazines to actually like fill the time, like, and get useful information.
Yeah, like Good Housekeeping, you'd get all your stuff from.
But now I just think of magazines as like some random thing that's just there if your phone is low on battery. We do have one cover that was sent to us, and this is by Adam Goff from Sylph Band.
Woohoo!
And it sounds like, I skipped way ahead. It sounds like this.
I talked to my sister late last night. She gave me some advice, and what she said was right. I talked to my sister late last night. I said I got her on my mind. She said it's good I know my kind. And maybe this time, maybe she's just the one you need. Keep taking your time, you shouldn't go for her full speed. And maybe this time, maybe she's just the one you need.
I just want to pause. I loved it when he was, maybe this time. Something about the way he said that. I liked it.
I'm just dancing around over here. Love it.
So I was talking to Adam on DM, and he's like, because I was like, everyone get your covers to us by Sunday. Adam's the only one who got it to us on time at all. And and he's like, oh, I hope you got it in time. And I'm like, oh yeah, we're not recording tonight, after all. And then he's like, oh no, I threw it together real quick, so I know it's got some
It sounds great.
It does sound great, but he was just apologizing for whatever because he threw it together real quick. And he changed some of the words or whatever. And I was like, I think it would sound good if we added, maybe, and I could be wrong, but I was like, if we added some reverb and made it sound all like indie and like sort of purposefully a little loose. So I'm going to see what it sounds like.
Did you just reproduce this
I'm
cover?
producing this cover for Adam. So let's see. I'm just got it in Gold Wave, and I'm just going to add the basic reverb preset and see what happens. Yeah.
This is rockin'.
Yeah, the reverb really, it makes it sound more indie rock.
Yeah.
It's making it more like Pedro the Lion. Like early Pedro the Lion.
I talked to my sister late last night. She gave me some advice, and what she said was right.
I just want to make sure that I'm not crazy. And it's processing.
That's awesome.
I added the reverb. Yeah, okay.
That's sick.
Oh yeah, there's definitely a difference. Okay. I was like, let me make sure that I didn't like...
Oh no, there's for sure a difference with the reverb. Yeah, it did sound all cool and indie rock. I love it.
Yeah. So hopefully Adam will agree to us putting this up online, and I'll add the reverb for the bonus app of just this song. Yeah, it definitely sounds better with the reverb. Because then when I was saying it to him, he's like, oh, do you think I should just added reverb just to the guitar or whatever? And I'm like, maybe the whole track. We'll see. We'll see what it sounds like.
Are you transitioning into music production, Danny?
Yeah.
You're going to have to learn some more technical stuff.
I know. First. We're just going to have people keep sending covers until we can put together the Sadie Hawkins Pod Comp tribute album.
Nice.
I don't think Relient K have any tribute albums. Oh, wait. They do. For every kind of coffee house instrument you can think of. So here's a cover on SoundCloud by Thomas Jacob.
Maybe this time, maybe she's just the one you need.
See, Thomas knows about the reverb. He knows. Told you, Adam, you need a reverb if you're just going to do single guitar
Yeah,
covers.
but Adam's was more like cool indie rock, and this one's more like coffee house specific.
Yeah.
Like indie rock you can listen to anytime, but like coffee house you can only listen to at the coffee house, yeah.
I guess that's true.
Or on college radio.
So I guess this Thomas cover, he cut it down to just 1:30 seconds. And yeah, he didn't do the first part of the cover. For the lyrics, whatever.
Keep taking your time. You shouldn't go for full speed.
You don't just hear this on the indie rock radio in the coffee house. You also hear this in like a hipster television show. This is like some freeform stuff.
You consider freeform hipster television?
It's wannabe hipster television.
That's what Pretty Little Liars is on, Danny, or was on. I think it's off the air
whatever.
now.
Anyway, I don't know what to tell you. I don't know anything about kids today and their 17 magazines and whatever they read and their...
That was a very pretty cover, though.
Yes, very nice. And then we have Princes of the Sun are back. And you know what's really funny?
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, that's right, because every time we talk about the first album,
Yep.
if there's no covers, we at least have Princes of the Sun with their sort of loose REM interpretation of Relient K's first album. Now, this is not an effect I care for. I don't know what guitar effect this is, but this is not one I care for. And I don't know what that
Are you
is.
using an accordion?
I don't know if that's an accordion or it could be like a melodica, like that sort of wind instrument that has a keyboard on it. I don't know. It could something sounds that I like that, but I don't care for this guitar effect.
Talked to my sister late last night, and she gave me some advice. What she said was right.
Yeah, that one's it's interesting. Oh, you know what's really...
You nailed it with like loose REM.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It feels like REM demos. Like I've listening to our Re-Talkin' REM Remy, that Scott Aukerman, Adam Scott REM podcast. Mm-hmm. And when they've listened to like demos and stuff, they're very loose. They actually do sound very similar to Princes of the Sun. You know what's really odd? This is the first week, and we're almost done, but this is the very first time where I found no covers on YouTube at all. Wow. I only found a couple of covers, and they're all on SoundCloud and Bandcamp. So let's see this thing that I found on SoundCloud when I searched for 17 Magazine.
David wasn't the only one to face a giant. We all face overwhelming situations. But when we step out in faith and follow God's lead, the impossible can become reality.
When she was 14 years old,
Is this a commercial? Is this part of the song?
Yes, I think it's a radio commercial. It's a radio promo commercial.
I was like, are they doing a skit at the beginning? What is happening?
No, it's like a radio commercial for a Christian radio channel. But here's where it gets into the 17 Magazine part.
Julia Bloom noticed that all the girls in her class struggled with their body image. She saw the unrealistic expectations that girls are encouraged to achieve, and she decided to do something. She wrote a letter to 17 Magazine, asking the editors to stop using Photoshop to make all their models look thinner, and started an online petition that gained more than 84,000 signatures. And the editor of 17 agreed. What are the chances that a 14-year-old girl could change the policies of 17 Magazine? She
Probably not very good.
Yeah.
So it's a nice story.
That is a nice story.
But
I don't think it worked.
I don't think, and I doubt it was just her. Right? You know what I mean? They're saying it worked. Now let's say Julia Bloom, which sounds like Julia Bloom, 17.
Sounds like Judy Bloom.
Yeah, that's it. Judy Bloom makes me think of that. Teen petitions. So 2012, teen petitions 17 Magazine to stop airbrushing. Was it photoshopping or airbrushing? So NBC News, NBC Nightly News. Oh, this is a video. I don't want to turn off my ad blocker. So I guess this is a story that really was in the news. And here's some, I guess these are pictures of her. Julia Bloom. Teen girls against Photoshop.
Did they do
But what
it for
about
like
memes?
one issue or something?
I don't know. But in 2000, apparently in 2012, this girl
Nice.
actually did this. Now, it reminded me, Jessica and I collect VHS tapes, and sometimes we find like old, Christian, there's no other word for it, propaganda tapes. Like about the evils of Satanism, which was not actually
And Halloween.
a movement at the way it was, and Halloween, the way it was depicted. But we found that we watched the one about the MTV, the anti-MTV propaganda one. Remember that one?
Yes.
And there was this thing about a woman who wrote like 7-Up or Sprite or something, and it's like, don't do this MTV tie-in contest, and they listened to her. And it's like, isn't it amazing that one butting in mom in middle America like stopped this soda company from promoting MTV? I'm like, I guess. But when I hear something like this, I'm like, okay, the teen girls against Photoshop, it could have just been the one girl who wrote, and it might have been something that the editor was already thinking about and was like, this is a good opportunity to react positively to this thing that's happening.
Did she get like a group behind her?
Well, did you hear?
Like 1 million moms or one of those types
How many?
of groups?
She had 45,000 petition signs or online or whatever.
Probably felt like chances that a 14-year-old girl
Hold on.
and the editor of 17 agree. What are the chances?
Hold on.
84,000 signatures.
Oh, here it is.
84,000 signatures.
84,000 signatures online helped
That's great.
Julia Bloom to get 17 Magazine to stop doing photoshopping, at least in 2012.
That's nice.
Yeah, and that's so 17 Magazine. There you go. No photoshopping. Did you find that in your deep dive?
No, because I used like quotes around Relient K and
Okay.
you know.
Anyway, yeah. Well, so when I hear a story like that,
It's heartwarming.
it is heartwarming. But I guess you could say this is cynical, but I just think of it as realistic. What's that Home Alone quote?
You be positive, I'll be realistic.
You be positive, I'll be realistic. When I hear a story like this, I think it's probably like someone higher up didn't like that they were already doing it, and they see the person and they're like, oh good, I'm gonna grab this and use it as a tool to do what I wanted to do in the first place. You know what I mean? Or they already see. Oh. Jessica got a phone call on her laptop in the middle. I was going around the same point over and over, but just suddenly.
I need to start putting my phone on airplane mode when we record.
Yeah, because Jessica's got an iPhone and a Mac, so when she gets a phone call,
It goes-
everything rings.
everything
the
rings.
whole house rings.
So my phone is on silent, but it rings into my headphones, and I like quickly like throw them off because it's so loud. And then, like April was snoring in the middle of that. And
Yeah.
my dad has radar. He like always calls when we're recording.
That's it for covers. Honestly, that's pretty much it. As you turn off our water cooler. The last thing I have, the only other thing, we can literally do everything I found. Because typically I'll find so many videos we can't do them all. If we do this, then we'll do everything that's 17 Magazine Relient K on YouTube. And it's this. Someone made an FMV to Seventh Heaven.
Nice.
And they stomped all over our number one rule about making fandom FMVs. Don't use clips of people talking.
But they're talking to their sister.
I guess so.
Oh, I think only one of those is a sister. I don't know who the other girl is. I was not a Seventh Heaven fan.
I was not a Seventh Heaven fan either.
I maybe saw 3 episodes out of its whole run.
I wasn't a WB. I wasn't
I was just about to ask what channel it was on.
a WB. You know what's so funny about the
I was a
WB?
big Gilmore Girls fan.
Right, and that was WB, I think.
And Smallville. The first, I think 2
And
seasons.
One Tree Hill.
I did not watch One Tree Hill.
You know what's funny about WB, which is now CW, for anyone who doesn't realize that, just in case. We have young listeners.
We do have young listeners who have never known the WB.
So nowadays you got the CW, and before that it was the WB, and CW shows are synonymous with like teen drama, like Shiny Teeth, Abercrombie's an old reference now, but you know what I mean.
Oh, that's so sad.
Like all these shows that are on the CW now, like even the DC Comics versions, all have this element that sort of start on the WB with One Tree Hill and Smallville and Seventh Heaven.
Wasn't Dawson's Creek on
Yeah, Dawson's
WB?
Creek was WB. But what's so funny that very few people remember is that when the WB as a network began, they started out marketing themselves to African Americans.
Oh, really?
Do you remember this?
No.
So the WB, I'm totally correct on this because I remember it at the time because it was exciting to be a kid, and I was a kid, and all of a sudden everyone's like, the WB has begun. It's a brand new air for free television station, you know? Like Fox had started when I was too young, so I don't remember Fox beginning. But then the WB starts, and they're like, it's a brand new free television channel. And they right away, like Kids WB, they had more or less figured out from the beginning, like what remained Kids WB through all that time started right then. But primetime WB in the beginning was like a lot of sitcoms and stuff, and they all had like an African American, not all of them, but a bunch of them had like an African American thing. And then, or they were just family, and there was also UPN started at the same time. Remember UPN?
Yes, I do. Yeah.
And UPN was like flat out like urban, right? UPN was like that they really marketed that, but WB had a little bit of that too.
It's interesting that the WB then like morphed into no diversity.
No,
just like
exactly
white blonde teens doing stuff.
Yeah, because that's what was so bizarre. And I remember like when boy bands come along, and I'm like, oh, I hate boy bands, and all of a sudden primetime WB is those same people, the people that listen to boy bands on TV shows. I think, what was it called? Hanging with Mr. Cooper. Remember Hanging with Mr. Cooper?
I do.
That's the only one I can remember because it's the only one that's kind of left somewhat of a mark in the day, you know.
I only remember that being on in the morning, though, in like, I guess reruns.
That was probably by syndication.
Yeah,
or something. Yeah.
That's how I watched Saved by the Bell, was just in those like.
Well, Saved by the Bell was always on in the morning.
That's right, it was.
Saved by the Bell was not developed to be in primetime. It was developed to air after cartoons.
I remember watching it, but like every weekday morning, like while I was eating breakfast, waiting for school or getting ready for school, and they played like Good Morning Miss Bliss, Saved by the Bell, and then the college years. And I never once questioned like why this was happening. Like how did they go from middle school to high school to college in like in an hour and a half span? It's like
a Mike Figgis film or something. Not quite. No, he's not the good reference. Like it's just a weird like time jump all around. You know what I mean? Like not Quentin Tarantino. I'm trying to think who else would do like a film. Oh no, it's like it's right on the tip of my tongue. I do like movies. I do work in film. What's his name? Hold on.
I don't know who you're going for, so I can't help.
Minimal editing once I get this name. Richard Linklater. It's like Boyhood or something.
Yes.
It's like because they're just like jumping all through the Saved by the Bell timeline universe, the shared universe. Anyway. But they didn't play Saved by the Bell, the new class at all?
Maybe?
We've conflated.
Every now and then, maybe?
I know we got to wrap up in a minute, but I don't know if we want to get into this. But you and me have conflated Saved by the Bell, the new class episodes with original Saved by the Bell. I've done it more than you, but there's been times where we talk about Saved by the Bell episodes, and you're like, remember? And then Zach does this and does that, and then we look into that episode, we're like, that was new class. But that's so funny that I
think they did mix those in there as well.
Yeah, but it's just kind of funny that the new class cast was so forgettable that in our brains we just replaced them with the original cast. for the few memorable storylines.
I remember being really, really young, and my family was going on a vacation to Hawaii, and that's when they were having the big the wedding in Las Vegas special,
Okay.
and we had like a family friend recorded on VHS for us so that I would have it when I got home
Nice.
because I couldn't miss Wedding in Las Vegas.
That's great. Well, if you have any Saved by the Bell memories, please give us a call at 402-95-SADIE. You can email us at sadiehawkinspod@gmail.com and check out our Instagram and Twitter, which are both Sadie Hawkins Pod. So we'll catch you at the end of the 17 magazine. We still don't have outros.
We don't. Oh, but
What?
we'll see you next week.
Oh,
On Christmas.
On Christmas Day.
For the fourth pot of
The
Christmas.
fourth pot of Christmas. Ho, ho, ho.
We just wasted 94 minutes of your life.